Hello everyone and welcome to this Total War Warhammer 2 live battlecast. In this game, guys, we're going to be playing the Dark Elves against the Skaven. So as far as our army composition goes, we do have Malekith the Witch King on his Black Dragon, which I definitely think is going to be very strong. The Dragon really enables him to go after the Skaven Lord, so if they do have like a Queek Head Taker or, you know, Lord Scroll, he can essentially fly over most of the defensive lines and get where he wants to go. On top of that, I think the reason that Malekith is very competitive compared to Morathi is the fact that he has Gaze of Malice. So Gaze of Malice is a breath attack that comes with 4 charges on him. Morathi doesn't have access to it, and it does huge damage to lightly armored troops. So against this Skaven, that's going to be strong. Granted, Skaven do often bring a bunch of Storm Vermin, and it's not as good against them. It still does decent damage, but it really shines against like fodder units. And often Skaven are going to use fodder units to defend high-value targets, like artillery and cannons and warp lightning and, you know, all that kind of fun stuff. So having that utility to kind of clean up the scraps over there is always pretty nice for sure. On top of that, as far as the rest of our army composition goes, we decided to go very wide. You can see we have the Black Ark Corsairs, high DPS anti-infantry, and they're going to be mixed in with some Bleak Swords because we do have a lot of backline troops and also some Witch Elves. So the Witch Elves I'm going to use on the flanks, and what I really want to do with the Witch Elves is get them on high value targets. So if we can get them on like Lord Skrolk or you know, any of his heroic units essentially, or like a Warp Lightning Cannon, or, well, not Warp Lightning Cannon, no, the Warp Fire Throwers or some Globadiers or something like that, it's going to be so good because it's basically like a taunt ability. They can't really escape once you get them with that, which is really, really nice. So Dark Shards, it's always nice to have missiles, and you know, sometimes they'll bring Rat Ogres or Hell Pit Abominations or things like that. And just as a contingency, you need to have these guys. And we don't really have AP in the front line, as you guys noticed. So having the AP on these missiles, it'll, you know, help us out against Storm Vermin and things like that. So we do have 3 spears in the back. They're basically just to protect the back line. And if he doesn't decide to threaten the back line, we can just send them up to the front. And also, if he's summoning rats, like using the Vermintide or the Plague Mug summon in the back line, these guys will just hopefully intercept them and hold them for long enough for us to survive. We also do have a Death Hag, who's a pretty good choice. She causes fear and terror, is mobile, you know, anti-infantry, so very good at kind of cleaving through lots of Skaven units. So let's see how this battle goes. Should be a fun one. I kind of wish this train wasn't here in the middle. It's kind of obstructing me a little bit, but at least it's protecting me from you know, artillery fire and things like that. So Skaven, of course, do have pretty darn good artillery. Oh man, you can see the mighty Doomwheel approaches. So the Doomwheel, we might actually intercept with Malekith. I think that's going to be good. So Skaven slaves all across the front line. It looks like he has some Plague Monks here. And 3 Doomwheels. All right, so this is going to be interesting. So let's actually kind of just posture up down here. Since he doesn't have artillery, we can go ahead and just kind of wait for him to come to us. Oh man, this is going to be interesting. I do not know how I'm going to handle 3 of these. So we're actually going to use the Death Hag, put her in group 3, and have her go after the Doomwheels as well. Because the rest of his army is probably going to be pretty poor quality, especially considering he has 3 Doomwheels. So let's go ahead and start shooting these bad boys. We're going to have Malekith kind of intercept right here, and then pop this ability right... Oh, he's too close. Okay, oh, did not want to do that. Okay, great. So we've kind of like popped them for a moment, which is going to give us time to like reform our ranks. And we get a little bit of friendly fire damage, it looks like, I think. Oh, that's not fun. We do have Soul Stealer as well, so we can potentially pop that. So let's get these guys shooting here and these guys shooting right here. But it looks like he's just going to kind of be pulling them in and out. So maybe we breathe some Noxious Breath on this bad boy and see if we can... Oh, no, that might not be good because I think he's going to fly into my army here. So, yeah, that did some okay damage. So he does charge into my infantry. We do have some Spears and Auxiliary who we're going to pull in, as well as the Death Hag, who we're also going to send after the other Doomwheels. And hopefully we can kind of catch them here. We'll see how it goes. Some more Spears can intercept here, and we'll make sure to get our engagement going in the front line versus these Skaven slaves to get that Murderous Prowess proccing. And all right, so Malekith's going in. We do have Soul Stealer, so we might actually pop that on one of these guys. And these Dark Shards right here, we really need to take out these Rat Wheels, or else they're just going to go crazy on us. We do have Witch Elves, so probably we want to actually use the Witch Elves if we can. And these ones are, man, they're taking a huge beating over here. It looks like they already collapsed. So these other Witch Elves, let's actually pull them back over here and see if we can use them to like taunt in the back line. See, that's going pretty well. We do have this Gaze of Malice from Malekith, so hopefully, yeah, we get a nice little blast right there and we hit a lot of stuff. We get these guys kind of going here, and these guys shooting at this Doomwheel here, and these ones shooting here. So, yeah, it's going to be tough to stop these Doomwheels. They're just running shop on our troops right now, but we really want to pull these guys over and try and like taunt them out. You can see the Skaven hordes have kind of penetrated the front line, so let's pop the Power of Darkness right here and use Dragon Breath right there and see if we can get any damage on these guys. And the Witch Elves really need to kind of get their paws on them. So the Dark Shards we can pull back right now. And those things also do cause fear and terror, so that's something else to consider here. And we do have another Cold Snap, so we're going to drop that on those Plague Monks and hopefully slow them down. So let's get Malekith kind of pushing back here on these guys. So yeah, the Dark Shards are kind of fleeing off right now. We're trying to get our bearings, but with those darn things just going ham on us. But we were able to get the Witch Elves on one of them, which is good. You can see it's like taunted right now. So I think we get Malekith on that one. We have our archers focused down the other one, and these spears can kind of form ranks right here, and these Dark Shards can start shooting at this one. So, man, wild fight for sure. I was not expecting that, so very well played by my opponent, kind of sneaking a quick one on me. So we're going to pull these Witch Elves over here, and the Death Hag is kind of, what is it fighting against? Is that just, oh man, I totally forgot about the Death Hag. So we need to get her up, pull these Corsairs back to the main battle. And it looks like we're able to get our paws on the DOOMWHEELs, who are almost online. So, well, I guess he's the one with paws technically. So we're going to pull these Dark Shards back, try and reform ranks. We'll pull some of these Witch Elves up to the front. And we do have the Gaze of Malice too, so this is going to be a nice juicy pop. So we're going to hit a bunch of Plague Monks and other units right there that are all pretty high value units. Looks like the DOOMWHEEL is not in the best shape, so we're going to pop this right here on this one. And all these Witch Elves need to get on this DOOMWHEEL right now. We're going to pull these Dark Shards back. We'll do a little bit of crossfire action. It looks like Malekith's doing okay for himself, but he's taking quite a bit of damage. So that Death Hag, we need to get it back to the front line. And Lord Skrulk is a true Vermintide. Let's get these Witch Elves over here. This thing is so darn low. We just need to break it. Good. So we've broken the DOOMWHEELs, but we really need to just secure our line right here. So let's get these Dark Shards back here. And Malekith needs to kind of just... You guys notice we're just like doing like really rapid tactical retreats and just trying to like stabilize. So we do have a little breath attack right here. So we're going to drop that on the Plague Monks, and hopefully it'll do some good damage. And boom, here it goes. All right, so we're going to hit a lot of those troops hopefully and do some good work. And yes, so we did get the DOOMWHEEL taunted, which is exactly what we want. So now Malekith needs to swoop in and finish this bad boy off. So do we have any troops coming back from route? We got some spears over here, and the Death Hag just keeps getting like caught up on something over there. I'm not sure what it is. Let's get these Dark Shards back. And yeah, the balance of power is a little bit in my opponent's favor, but it's not out of reach yet. We could still potentially kind of, have a comeback here. Let's pop this cone ability, do some good damage to all of those ratlings. And yes, we need to get those DOOMWHEELs down. That's going to be the most important kind of a recipe for success here. So, but yeah, we're kind of out of infantry, to be honest. We do have some Dark Shards coming here and some of these guys, so we're going to pop the Fury of Cain right here on these Black Ark Corsairs. Hopefully they can do some pretty good work for us. And we do have a Soul Stealer coming up, as well as Power of Darkness, so let's pop that and get up in the air. We want to get away from this blob. I think this is kind of a lost cause over here, this part of the battle. So we're going to pull up in the air, and come on, get away, get away. Let's see if we can. So these Witch Elves over here, or not Witch Elves, these Executioners have engaged here. Let's see if we can get these Dark Shards, but there's just so many rats everywhere. They're just out of control. So we're going to get up, and we're going to pop Soul Stealer on Lord Skrulk, who I think actually just used the Libra Bubonicus on us, because that's why we took so much damage. Maybe it's just from the Power of Darkness, I'm not sure. But let's also pop this to give us some melee defense. And hopefully we can get up in the air here. We do have some spears, so let's run towards the spears and see if they can like screen for us here for a moment. So the Hag here is doing a pretty good job against the Skaven hordes, but I think it's inevitably going to go down here. These Dark Shards are online, so we'll have them shoot here, and these Witch Elves can go ahead and run over here. So Malekith's trying to get up. We do get the spears to kind of block those guys up, so hopefully you can get up in the air here. And we do have this this cone attack. I don't want to cast it like that. Okay, good. So we did get up, and it was a decent little cast. We hit some guys, and he's up, so that's good. So now we can go join these other forces, and looks like that's going to be all she wrote. So man, those DOOMWHEELs caught me off guard. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Very well played to my opponent. I was not expecting triple DOOMWHEEL at all. So this build was kind of like more of a well-rounded build. I was expecting a lot of fodder units. The Plague Monks performed very well in the front line. They were actually able to trade, but we just got like run down by those DOOMWHEELs. It was just too much. Super well played to Yojimbo with bringing out that new and new strategy. And Lord Skrulk, like, I just had so much pressure on me that I couldn't really deal with Lord Skrulk. Like, I wanted to jump on him, but I had to use Malekith and with his big mass to kind of deal with these DOOMWHEELs in the back. So that was really cool. We were able to taunt them a little bit with the Witch Elves, which I thought was nice, but inevitably, I think what I needed was the Cold One Spear Riders. They would have been able to block them up with the mass, and I would have been able to deal with those guys. But you don't really expect a lot of anti-large or large units from this Skaven, so I didn't think it would be worth it. But that was definitely what I needed there. So yeah, really well played to Yojimbo. That was super fun. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that DOOMWHEEL showcase. I know a lot of you guys have been asking for both Dark Elves and DOOMWHEELs on the channel. So hopefully you guys get a little bit of both of those in this game. So again, well played to my opponent. Look forward to running into you again on ladder. And guys, we'll see you all soon. Hello everyone, and welcome to another entry in our Community Cast series. In this game, we're going to have a showdown between Banana Man, who's going to be playing the Dark Elves, and he's going to be facing off against Claudzor, who's going to be playing the Skaven with a very unusual army. So let's jump right into this game, guys, and take a look at some of the army compositions. So for the Skaven in the front line, although I do hesitate to call it a front line, they have all rat ogres. So typically when you play against the Skaven as, the Dark Elves or the High Elves, you're going to want infantry that are really good at kind of mowing down fodder. So you can see in the front line, the Dark Elves do have Black Ark Corsairs. They have 80 armor, so they're resilient against clan rats and plague monks. And they also do have a true bonus versus infantry. So this front line is very much designed to take out like Skaven hordes, but he's actually facing off against an entire front line of rat ogres who actually are pretty resilient against those type of infantry and also do have very good armor piercing damage. So they're going to have the AP to get through the 80 armor of the Black Ark Corsairs and probably against some of these Executioners in the back. So a little bit of mind games action going on. On top of that, he does have 3 DOOMWHEELs. So 1, 2, I think there's 3. So yeah, there's one there, and there's one over here as well. So DOOMWHEELs are kind of a pretty cool unit. They do really well against infantry. They do have actually a missile attack. So this little laser in the front, this warpstone laser, it has a nice armor-piercing attack that's good against, armored infantry like the Blackguard Corsairs and the Blackguard and Ogrond and things like that. And it also does have kind of a melee impact damage. So it works a little bit like a chariot, but also a little bit like the Black Coach. So if you leave it in sustained combat, it'll actually do really well, and it will continue to fire its gun. So I think this unit, or the DOOMWHEEL in general, is going to be pretty good against the elf factions. It struggles a little bit against the dinos because dinosaurs just have that huge mass. They can be sending in, Croc Guard to kind of intercept it, and it just 100% shuts it down. But against factions that are a little bit more infantry-centric, I think the DOOMWHEEL could definitely have a home. On top of that, he does have 2 Hell Pit Abominations, so they are armor-piercing and anti-large, whereas the War Hydra over here does not have anti-large, and also I think has a little bit lower weapon strength, so 440 compared to the 500. And then on top of that, let's look at the melee attack and melee defense, 53 and 27 to 35 and 30. So I still think the Hell Pit Abomination would probably win that duel. The HP pools, actually it favors the Hell Pit Abomination quite a bit. And of course it does have that bonus versus large and some of these other abilities. I've never actually really played with the Hell Pit Abomination yet, so too horrible to die. So when its hit points are less than 10%, I think it gets like a healing proc. Then on top of that, when it does die, I have seen this before. When it does die, a bunch of clan rats come out of its corpse, which is pretty great. So should be fun to see that in action. For his Lord, I think he does have a Warlord right here, so he's riding on the Bonebreaker. It's basically just like a giant, like super rat ogre. But he should be okay. Pretty decent at taking out Dreadlords and those kind of lords. So as far as the Dark Elf army goes, again, like I mentioned before, it's very designed against like a traditional Skaven army. You have the Blackguard Corsairs and the Bleak Swords, which are, all pretty good against clan rats and fodder units. In the back, he does have the Blackguard and Ogrond. So he's definitely going to be quite happy he brought these guys because they are anti-large specialists. Typically, you don't need a ton of anti-large, if any, against the Skaven, but in this case, this is going to be his saving grace right here. In the back, he does have some Dark Shards, a little bit of missile AP damage. Never hurts. Always a good idea to bring it, make your army a little bit more well-rounded. And in the back, he does also have a Reaper Bolt Thrower, a War Hydra, which you don't see terribly often, but might not be terrible against this Skaven. I think it probably has pretty good splash attack. It can breathe fire, and of course, it does have that self-healing with another takes his place. It's basically a stronger version of what this Skaven one has. So this guy, when he gets below 50%, I think it actually procs some sort of a healing buff. And then he does have some Cold One Knights on the far side. More anti-large definitely will be helpful. So let the games begin. So the Skaven are just going in deep. You can see they're just going to charge in, just no mercy. You see some of those DOOMWHEELs shooting in there, blasting these guys, and man, this is going to be a brutal impact. So those Rat Ogres are going to charge in there, and you can see the DOOMWHEELs creeping around the side. Looks like there is a spell going down here on them, but yeah, you see those blasting charges doing really good work. The War Hydra is going to breathe some fire, but it's just going to ram down these archers. You can see a few of them getting run over in the back. But the entire Dark Elf front line is just collapsing horribly. The Rat Ogres are just beating the brakes off these front lines troops. Over here it's going pretty well. You can see that these Black Arc Corsairs are terrified and routing. And the Executioners will hold for a little bit of time, but still the Rat Ogres are a very good matchup. Essentially, kind of as Total War goes in general, like elite sword infantry like Swordmasters of Hoeth are always going to struggle against units like Proxivores and Rat Ogres and things like that. Granted, they will give it back a little bit. So you can see the Warlord has pushed back, and this Hell Pit Abomination, the Warlord, are just gooning this Dreadlord right here. So he's definitely having a horrible time. He is a large target, and just look at the damage coming in from that Hell Pit Abomination. And man, he is broken already. So you guys can see the balance of power is so heavily in this Skaven's favor. However, these Blackguard and Ogrond are really holding. These guys are just true MVPs right here. So they have this Hell Pit Abomination surrounded, and they're just doing massive damage. You can see its HP is getting chunked down by like hundreds at a time. And I think also this Bolt Thrower is shooting. It looks like it might have gotten shut down over here, but yeah, you can see the Dark Shards are being run down by the DOOMWHEEL. And the DOOMWHEEL's got to be one of the... I love how it like runs things over and then drags them for a little while. And all the while it zaps too. So this guy already has 45 kills. I've been experimenting a little bit with the DOOMWHEEL myself in multiplayer, and it's really good against like the High Elves, because when you play against the High Elves, they always bring like White Lines of Trace, and they usually don't bring Cav since their Cav aren't very good, at least my anecdotal experience. And the DOOMWHEEL really shines against infantry. So you can see the Executioners here, being a very expensive elite troop, are still holding their own against these Rat Ogres who are a little bit tattered, so they might be able to take these guys down. Over here you can see the Cold One Knights have engaged on the Hell Pit Abomination, and the War Hydra is also coming in with the DOOMWHEELs on the hunt. And this will be pretty good if it gets its like missile attack against the Blackguard, but it doesn't want to like stand and fight. You can see that nice cleaving missile attack actually takes out 4 of them. That one blast right there takes out another 3. And the Blackguard are such an expensive unit. But you can see the balance of power starting to come back a little bit for the Dark Elves. I think their Lord is kind of scurrying, and it looks like he did rally. So over here, the Dreadlord and some of these Dark Shards, as well as some Black Arc Corsairs, are rallying back on the battlefield. The War Hydra, it looks like it was breathing some fire here, but it should be engaging in the moment. And so it's definitely wild. The Sorceress with fire, fire isn't bad. I think the Hell Pit Abomination is actually weak against fire, so it's pretty useful in this matchup. But hopefully, I wonder if we're going to get a custom attack animation right here. So you can see the Hydra with a nice little tail whip here, but it'd be pretty cool if this Hell Pit Abomination decided to tackle this guy. But another tail whip, and I wonder if the head is attacking like the Lord and the tail is whipping this guy. That would be pretty cool. But the Hell Pit Abomination taking quite a bit of damage, and it looks like the Hydra is actually doing well. The Hydra does have a lot higher melee attack, hence it's going to land a lot more of its attacks. So that battle's going pretty well for the Dark Elves, especially now that these Cold One Knights are engaged. Over here, the Black Guard did actually tie up one of these Doomwheels, so it looks like he left the Doomwheel fighting for a bit too long, and those Black Guard are able to just chunk it down so hard, bringing it to less than 500 HP, so definitely quite strong. You can also see that the Reaper Bolt Thrower crew is coming back. Did they just heal right there? It looks like they are waddling back, so maybe he'll get those back online. You can see these guys are rampaging the Cold One Knight, so he doesn't have control, but thankfully pretty much every target on the battlefield is a good target for these Cold One Knights. But the Hydra is starting to take a beating. The Anti-Large of the Hell Pit Abomination in conjunction with this Warlord, who has popped Deadly Onslaught, are starting to wear on this Hydra a little bit. You can see the Dreadlord is back. And this is kind of like the Glady version of the Dreadlord, so it actually has really good armor-piercing missile attacks, but you can see the Skaven Warlord's coming in, and he's just going to start slapping this guy around, just pushing him around up and down the hill. He's at about 700 HP, but it looks like he actually did daze the Warlord, and he has some Bleak Swords coming in, but Bleak Swords aren't going to do a whole lot against a Warlord here. And it looks like the War Hydra is in pretty good shape, and the Hell Pit Abomination might go down here, but if it does die, it's actually going to summon a bunch of Clan Rats with spears, who might be able to help against his Hydra. So we can see here there are some Globadiers in the back, and I think he was actually chasing them off with Dark Riders, but then they finally got into the battle here. So hopefully these Globadiers for the Skaven can get engaged on some of these large targets like the Hydra, and even against the Black Guard, these guys do have good armor piercing. But the Black Guard Corsairs here, though they are taking a little bit of damage, should be able to kind of work through these guys, because the Poison Wing Globadiers, though they do have 100 armor, so they'll last quite some time, they have very poor combat stats with 18 melee attack and 24 melee defense. So they're definitely going to get out-traded by these guys, but it's actually not terrible. When the ones in the back do throw, that's kind of cool. So you can see that the caster is getting in here, and some of these rampaging Cold Ones who do have the AP to finish these guys off. And you can see these poor little rats are going to get massacred here. So it looks like the Skaven Warlord has been pushed off. And man, that was probably one of the bigger comebacks I've seen in a while. Like, the shock and awe value of that Skaven army was just insane. Like, they just charged down the hill, and pretty much the entire Dark Elf front line just crumbled in an instant. And the balance of power was like 30%. It was like over in this area, but it looks like the Dark Elves are going to come back. There still is a Doomwheel online. However, the Skaven Warlord has retreated. And the Skaven are one of those factions that, do take a big penalty when their lords retreat, because most of their units, even their elite ones and their kind of contraptions here, do have poor leadership. So, and also this Dreadlord is back online, so it does have that missile pressure. So you can see that the Clan Rats that did come from the dead Hell Pit Abomination are going to be going after the Hydra, who is retreating, but you can see these Bleak Swords are going to charge in here and probably start cutting up some of these little Clan Rats. So Clan Rats actually don't have the worst stats. Are these? Oh, these are actually Skaven Slave Spears, so it's not the Clan Rats that get summoned, so it is the Slave. So yeah, they're just going to get massacred here. You can see the Doomwheel, though. This is actually really bad for the Dark Elves. This Doomwheel, it's pretty good in melee. Like, it's not bad. It has 29 melee attack and 34 melee defense, and you see it just blasted that guy off his mount. So that's what I'm telling you guys. The Doomwheel is kind of the hidden gem. Like, remember how everyone used to like just meme on the Black Coach and just make fun of it and say it had no use, but then we started playing with it, giving it a chance, and it found its home, in some matchups. So I think the Doomwheel is one of those units, and it's actually pretty good against these elite kind of slow armored infantry. I mean, it's just blasting these guys just into oblivion. So definitely like the chance to get to see it in action. Even though it wasn't your traditional army compositions, it was still a very fun back and forth game. We got to see some large, ridiculous units and some cool comebacks. So it looks like the Doomwheels are going to rout due to army losses. We can see the War Hydra up on the high ground cleaning up some of the scraps. That's going to be all she wrote for this Skaven. So I like the Dark Elf army for sure. Lore of Fire, not bad, especially with the Burning Skull can now be re-aimed. We have the Black Ark Corsairs, good choice, and the Bleak Swords are a decent filler. Sword Infantry do trade pretty well with fodder. Usually they have decent melee attack and melee defense, which of course, the melee attack being higher than like spear units. So I like this kind of combination in the front line. Having Executioners just in case he brings Storm Vermin is a very good contingency. And also the Black Guard and Nalgron, I like that choice. And I mean, it definitely was the saving grace here. If he didn't bring these guys, he probably would have lost the game. Like if he had just brought like another Executioner, because these guys single-handedly took on like 2 Doomwheels as well as the Hell Pit Abominations. That was pretty huge. I probably wouldn't bring the Reaper Bolt Thrower, but again, I haven't really played with the Hydra. I feel like the Skaven, especially if they bring like Lore of Plagues or things like that, can just summon Clan Rats and like shut down your Reaper Bolt Thrower, and it's pretty rough to guard those type of things. But as far as the Skaven army, I mean, he was definitely having fun. It almost worked though. Like all jokes aside, like if I saw this like just going into the game, I'd be like, yes, no chance. But seeing that shock damage of the Doomwheels charging in conjunction with the Rat Ogres with their good AP and decent charge bonus, and of course the Hell Pit Abominations are pretty dominant in an anti-large matchup because they do have that bonus and much higher weapon strength than the Hydra. But definitely a fun game. So thanks again to Banana Man, and I'm just totally mangling this name. I bet it's like Claude Wazor. I can't even. It's like something out of an H.P. Lovecraft book, like one of those names that like you're not supposed to understand. But very well played to both players. Hopefully I get to a chance to battle you guys on ladder. And thanks again for watching, guys. Have an excellent night and take care.